Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Tex Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. Today is March 10th, 2018. We got a little bit of cloudy conditions outside today. Sun doesn't appear that it's going to be coming out anytime soon, but that's okay. That's all right. The temperature's starting to warm up. Springtime is coming in the very near future, and in the interest of springtime, we're going to try to stay on that theme. And today I want to talk extensively about bicycling. Not the Hell's Angels kind of biking, but you know, the pedal bike, where you just hop on a bike, go outside, start biking around, you know, maybe raising hell in the neighborhood, just finding a park, just having a great time. And for you ladies and gentlemen listening at home, if you're interested in biking, which is, it's a very, it's not really something you're able to do year-round in Minnesota, unless you got those tires with the big fat tires. Then you can pretty much bike on rain, snow, sleet. You could bike through a river or through an ocean with one of them. But ultimately, we're mainly focused on mountain, but not you know, like not mountain biking where you get up in the Grand Canyon and hop over a bunch of jumps. But just your average mountain bike where you might go on a little bit of rough terrain, or road biking. Mostly road biking, where you maybe want to bike to work or bike to school, or just bike around town for fun. That'll be the primary focus. So the first step, though, to getting into biking is to decide where you're going to purchase a bike or how you're going to obtain one. And back in the good old days, if you wanted a bike, you'd have $10 in your pocket. You'd walk down to a garage sale. There'd usually be a bike there built of pretty reasonable quality, and you just pick it up $5-10, you know, just an average bike. You know, it wasn't Lance Armstrong, ain't gonna ride it, but you know, it's not something that's gonna fall apart after 10 minutes either. So it's definitely, you probably can still get reasonably priced bikes, and fortunately bikes made a long time ago were built with were very sturdy and built with very good quality. So even a bike from 30 years ago, as long as the tires are good, the chain is lubed up well, and you know, everything is aligned and the frame doesn't have cracks on it or it's not broken, it's going to be of pretty decent quality, and it'll probably last a fairly long time. You know, unless you're hitting sweet jumps with it, then you're on your own. You know, I don't know how long it'll last then. But for the most part, nowadays, you know, you could probably go on Craigslist and find some decent bikes on there. I haven't really checked lately. You know, sometimes people give away free bikes, or even like a metal recycling yard. They might have some bikes there. You know, granted, they're not going to be in the best of condition. But you know, here on this show, I mostly take a minimalist approach to everything. So if I'm going to get a new bike, you know, I'm not going to go to Diamond Dave's bike store and lay down $10,000 for some titanium, graphene, space age, NASA designed, Lance Armstrong sponsored bicycle, you know, with the really skinny tires and the electric motor hybrid assist and all that good fun stuff. You know, that's just not for me. Actually, when I did buy a bike, it was probably about 5 years ago, and what I was looking for back then, I was looking for one of those bikes that had the rounded handlebars, so you can kind of sit, a cruiser bike is what they generally refer to them as. And I was looking around at the stores at Fleet Farm and, you know, Target and Walmart and things of that nature. They did have cruiser bikes there. They're probably about $100, but the quality was just garbage. The pedals seemed like they're just completely plastic, like they're just gonna snap off at any minute. The frame was, I don't know what, some kind of aluminum, steel, alloy, this, that, and the other thing, and it was fairly lightweight, but it felt like it could get scratched easily, or it could crack, or it could bend, and it was just a terrible build quality. I mean, even the bikes in the store, it looked like you didn't even want to test drive because they're just garbage. So ultimately, I figured, all right, I'm going to try to find a used bike of decent quality that is not like full-on recumbent bike, but a bike that you can kind of sit back on and relax, and then keep a straight back. See, back then when I bought a bike, I was going through a stage turned out to be a very misguided stage where I thought that if I maintain a very, very low body weight, that I could somehow reroute more blood to my brain and function better in the particular career path that I chose. But ultimately, that strategy didn't really work out so well. I was probably about 120 something pounds. I looked like I just crawled out of a cemetery and went into a liposuction clinic, and then they sucked my organs all out, and then I walked outside and got run over by a truck full of dandruff, and then had 14 bottles of vegetable oil poured on me, and then sent to the morgue and rolled out of the bed, and then rolled through some more Wesson cooking oil, and then stumbled out of the hospital, and then went to Rod's bicycle shop and picked up a nice bike that you sit back on, and it $50 for the bike. It's good quality. He does all the maintenance there. New tires, maybe not a new chain, but the chain was oiled up. The brakes is the biggest thing. If you get some old junky bike and the brakes are dragging on it, or they don't work properly, they're misaligned, that's probably the biggest thing to look for with a used bike. Because if you got a bike where the brakes are dragging the whole time, you're gonna have to basically be a power lifter just to move the thing a couple miles. And when you're just getting on a bike in the springtime too, generally you're not in the best of physical conditioning, unless you have one of those little training apparatuses where you can. How they operate is they got two big, not really claws, but they're sort of cylindrical shaped objects. You attach them to the back of the bike wheel, and then the bike wheel rests on another cylinder that spins, and that spins an electric motor, which is, I don't know if it's a variable resistance, depends on how fancy the particular trainer is. You basically sit on that, spin the wheel spins some resistance. I don't know if it creates heat, sound, touch, flames, waves, or whatever it does. And then you get the exercise out of that. You're sitting on your bike, you're pedaling it, you're working all the muscles and everything. So it's an excellent indoor means of exercising and getting ready for springtime when you're biking around outside. But going back to the bicycle shop. So you can they have full-on mountain bikes. They have regular road bikes, the ones with the really super skinny tires where it looks like if you hit a bump it would just pop right away, and then you'd have to walk home crying the whole time. And then they got hybrid bikes, which are, they're not full-on mountain bike, or they're not full-on, road bike with the spandex and all that stuff. Usually, most people starting out would probably be best getting more of the hybrid or the CrossFit or whatever you call them bikes, just because the tires aren't going to be super expensive. It's going to be more reliable and dependable. You're not going to have to bend over as much like they do on the Tour de France. And it's probably going to be a more comfortable experience. It's one of those things where you can just hop on right away, start pedaling and biking away your blues, basically. That's Rod's motto on his building. He's got this old building in it's in St. Cloud. It's on the east side of the river. It's in the tough guy part of town where they got metal yards, and he's right next to a muffler shop, and then there's Val's Hamburgers over there. I think there's probably either a Target or a Shopko, maybe both. And it's a pretty cool part of town, but he's got these big bars in front of his windows and stuff too, because apparently, he makes pretty good bikes, so I can see why people would want to steal them, But I wouldn't really recommend that course of action. You definitely want to pay for it, and then you can enjoy it to it, and then he can continue making good bikes as well. If everyone just stole all of his bikes, obviously he's not going to be able to stay in business, and then you're not going to be able to enjoy getting any bikes. So I guess short-term win, long-term loss for everybody. So you always have to look at the big picture. So you just go to the store, pay whatever price he's asking. I don't know if he negotiates or not. I'm thinking he probably doesn't. It'd be incredibly disrespectful. He knows the effort he puts into the bike, so he knows what they're worth, and he knows what he needs. He knows what he needs to sell them for to run the business. So I wouldn't really see the point in going there and be like, oh, it's $100. How about I give you $50 for it? But doing stuff like that, you're liable to get your ass kicked. So just mitigating risk, I'd just go in there and give them the full, maybe give them extra. I mean, maybe you're like, hey, this bike is beyond what I'm looking for. I mean, this is awesome, man. You know, you're a cool guy. I really appreciate what you're doing. Thanks a lot. Here's $120 instead. So, I mean, that's not out of the question either. I mean, when you go to a restaurant or a pizza delivery guy, you know, you totals $10 to give him $12. So why the hell should Rod's bikes be any different? You know, he wants $200 to give him $300. Why not? He's going to be happy. He's going to like you. He's probably going to support you after the sale. You know, if he sees you on the side of the road with a flat bike tire someday, he might have an extra tire in the back of his trunk. But you know, if you went in there and you tried to screw him over on the price, you know, if he sees you on the side of the road with a flat tire, he's probably going to laugh his ass off, and yeah, that's probably about it. But getting back to the main subject here, when you consider biking, you generally, based on where you live, because there's different scenarios too. You know, there's city biking where you can't really haul ass or bike super fast or anything. You're probably limited to 20 miles per hour tops. And then there's trail biking where you bike around these little trails where you got pedestrians and people on roller skates, or maybe people rolling around on the ground for some reason or another. And that's probably, if there's not a lot of other people on the trail, you can bike very quickly at a high rate of speed, maybe 20 to 30 miles per hour. But for the most part, you know, when you see people, then you need to slow down, obviously, because they might not be paying attention. So then you could probably get a road bike or something along that line. But if you see, I grew up in a particular part of the state where they used to have trains that would run through town, and then every 7 miles, they would have a coal filling station. Every 7 miles or whatever, they had to fill up the train with coal. So we had a lot of old train tracks, and nowadays what they've done is they've converted them. They've ripped out all the tracks, you know, brought in the midway iron or whatever, and then they filled in. They put tar over where it used to be, so the land is very, very level. It's very biker friendly, you know, unless you're going into a headwind. So those are the kind of trails where you can really get a lot of speed going. I mean, you could probably get say you work 30 miles away, but you got one of them old train rail track paths things to bike on. You know, you could probably get a bike with the hybrid motor and maybe even that little shell that goes over the top to make it super aerodynamic, and then bike 30, 40 miles per hour to get to and from work. I mean, that would be an option. That'd be a pretty cool option too. So yeah, I mean, you can definitely look into that. You know, look around at the different trails and everything of that nature. Maybe go online and look at some of the mapping sites as well. And then here in Minnesota, Minneapolis is usually consistently in the top 5 most biker-friendly cities in the country. You know, along with Portland and maybe some other, maybe Butte, Montana, or some other town like that. So but you know, again, if you're biking in the city, you obviously don't need a road bike because you're not going to pick up a lot of speed. So you probably want quasi mountain, quasi road bike, just something that gets the job done, something that's safe, and ultimately something that'll get you to and from point A to point B in a reliable fashion. And that's the other thing too, going back to safety. If you're going to bike around, you don't need to buy all the spandex and the biker helmets and the goggles and the face shield and the mouth guard and the chin straps and the elbow pads, the wrist pads, the knee pads, the finger guards, the steel toe boots or the shin guard. You don't need any of that stuff. You know, when we were kids, even today, I'll throw on one of the Free Menard shirts that I've been getting over the past 5 years, and then I'll throw on the same pair of shorts that I've been wearing for the last 10 years, and then just hop on the bike and get out and start pedaling around and enjoying the weather and just having a great time. I mean, you see all the spandex with the sponsors on it, Big Joe Rosso's monster truck sponsors or something. I mean, it's, if you want to spend a bunch of money and look like a cool guy or gal, then by all means, yeah. I'm sure there's good working American people putting together, designing those products too. So I suppose, I guess it would be one good way to help out the economy. But ultimately, if you just want to take the minimalist approach, you don't really need to give the matter much thought. The one thing to consider though is if you wear long sleeve pants, the pants could get stuck in the chain. So that's definitely one thing you want to avoid. And then with biking too, there's also, when you start out biking, if it's below 60 degrees, it's going to be very cold. So you don't really want to wear a lot of clothes because you know that not only is it probably going to warm up over the course of the day, it's probably you're going to warm up too. Because you know, if you're pedaling hard and working hard for the money, then you're going to build up a lot of heat in your body, and then that heat will just permeate throughout you, and then you'll raise your body temperature significantly as well. So that's definitely one thing to consider. Dress appropriately. If you want to wear a helmet, I guess you can. I mean, I don't know if you have to nowadays or anything, but you know, I don't think I've ever wore any kind of safety equipment on a bike, and you know, I have taken a few spills here and there, but it's not like I've been run over by a car or a semi or nothing like that. So I mean, I suppose in that instance, you know, the helmet isn't going to help you too much, but yeah, I don't know. It's totally up to you, really. You know, I'm just trying to give you my perspective of my motto of what kind of bike, where to bike, how to bike, what to wear, etc., etc. So it looks like we're coming up to a break pretty soon here. What I want to do is we're going to have a show in the near future. It's going to be called Good Times Balls Deep. You know, just this last week, you know, me and the host have been so busy with the show. It's like, I mean, I haven't even taken a shower or slept in the past week. So it'll be nice once we get that thing hitting the ground. It's going to hit the ground running. You know, hopefully, you know, yeah, we might trip and fall over ourselves here and there, but ultimately, I think short term and long term, it's gonna be a great show. It's just gonna bring back good old fashioned fun. It's going to make America great, make St. Cloud great again, make Minnesota great again, make families great again, make communities great again, make just being a good person great again, pro-human, pro-common sense, pro-liberty life and the pursuit of happiness, all that kind of stuff. So ultimately, the host of the show, he has been constructing a studio and making it a little bit more soundproof, because what his idea is, and it's definitely a elite ideas, he wants to have multiple people on the show, sort of a discussion panel, and then the idea is, you know, you have to, like this room here, there's a few blankets here, a few blankets there, but ultimately, I mean, there is a bit of an echo. So I mean, if you get multiple people and throwing their voices in different directions, and it'll just be a big mess. So that's one of our delays now. He's working on soundproofing the room so there can be multiple people just talking to each other, talking about, you know, the hard-hitting topics of the day or week or month or year or lifetime, or just anything. You know, they might talk about the Lusitania and how much of a tragedy it was, or they might talk about the UFOs, or they might talk about transgender vestite bathrooms or something. You know, it's going to be completely open, and it'll be dynamic and ever-changing. And text messages, we've just been focused mostly on static topics, but sometime in the future we are probably going to have to transition to more dynamic current events. But in the meantime, I'll just stick to the static topics so we can work out the bugs of the show. And obviously too, this show is just, you know, filler for Good Times Balls Deep. So it might even be the point where this show sort of reviews the topics and is more of a feeder program for Good Times Balls Deep. So when you watch this program, then you'll know that, oh yeah, Good Times Balls Deep, you know, they're probably going to talk about this, that, and the other thing. So then that'll allow you to do a little bit of research on it and have a competent approach. And when you listen to it, you'll be able to draw and extract and write more information to your mind. So then you can actually, you're not obviously physically interact with them, but you're more engaged with the show, and thus it makes it more interesting and a better viewing experience for the ladies and gentlemen and you viewing at home. So I'm totally pumped for it. I mean, my heart, if I had one of those little wrist things measuring my heart rate right now, it'd probably be about 150 beats per minute. And then every time I talk to the host of Good Times Balls Deep, it shoots up to probably in the low 200s. So, I mean, I don't even need to do any cardiovascular training anymore. I mean, just anytime my cardiovascular training is thinking about how great of a show Good Times Balls Deep is going to be. And you, the viewing audience at home, I think you guys are definitely going to see all these sentiments coming into fruition. I'm not just making up a bunch of exaggerations here. This is literally how I feel Good Times Balls Deep is going to be. And the show is definitely going to be elite. You guys are going to love it. I think it'll probably receive rave reviews right off the bat. And yeah, we might sputter. You might get derailed a few times. Then we'll call a giant crane, stick it back on the track, fill it up with coal, fire it up, and get it moving again. That's just the nature of this business, of this form of entertainment. So with that being said, we're going to go on break now. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Thanks for listening. Good text messages. Welcome back to Tex Messages, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We've been discussing mostly hobby bicycling, what kind of bike you can get, how you can use it, where you can bring it, whether you can bring it on a spaceship or a hot air balloon, or if you want to jump the Grand Canyon with it, things of that nature. But ultimately, I wanted to sort of illustrate to you what types of experiences I've had with biking just my entire life. And they've mostly been positive. Actually, almost 100%, probably 95% of them have been positive. And there was one time where I had some old junky bike. I pulled it out of a dumpster. It had 2 flat tires. And the chain was kind of out of whack. The brakes were all discombobulated, and some of them would rub against the tires and everything of that. So basically the brakes were almost completely disconnected, and I put new tires on it and then oiled up the chain, and then I used that for a while. So one day I decided to just start biking around in the country somewhere. And I probably made it about 7 miles from my original location, and then the chain snaps. So what am I supposed to do? Just chuck the bike and then start walking home or something of that nature? So I figured I would keep the bike and then just slowly walk it home. I walked for maybe a mile or two, and then I came to a downhill descent. So I said, hey, I can just hop on the bike and coast down the hill. So I went ahead and I did that, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good to do that. I mean, I managed to make up a lot of time doing that, so it was great because I could keep the bike, and I didn't have to really walk the full 7 miles, because I mean, walking 7 miles would probably take about it might be close to about 3 hours. And after this wasn't just straight 7 miles in one direction. It was looping here, looping there, looping everywhere, and very, very circuitous route. So it probably ended up taking about 2 hours the initial bike ride, and then the way home. If there's going to be another 3 hours walking, it's like 5 hours of being gone. So it becomes a very long time. And then that was in the springtime of the year too. So usually in springtime of the year, predicting the weather is a little bit more difficult. You get these clouds that roll in, you get tornadoes, typhoons, tugboat, earthquake. All that stuff can potentially happen in the spring at a far higher probability than summer or fall. So that's probably only about 2 miles away from home, and I was still walking the bike and everything of that nature. And then, of course, it would start downpouring, and at that point in the game, your clothes are wet, but they're not really that nice of clothes anyways, and the bike is pretty much junk at that point too, so it's not a big deal if it gets rained on. But the funny part is, at some point, some lady just pulls the side of the road, and she's like, hey, do you want to ride? And it's like, I mean, look at me. If I sit in your car, it's probably it's gonna basically be bringing in a monsoon inside the whole car. So you absolutely, I appreciate the offer, and I know that in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, she knows I'm probably not gonna actually accept the offer. It's just wants to do the good Samaritan deed, because I mean, who the hell would want some sloppy guy to sit in the car? And it's a pretty decent car too, but it was just one of them weird deals where it's like, the day is already at that point it was probably just salvaging the rest of the day and not not projecting your negativity on anybody else. Just like, all right, the bike is broken, it's wet, soaking wet, haven't quite made it home yet, so I'm just gonna disconnect from humanity for a little bit and not project anything bad onto the other people. But yeah, I mean, if you see some stranded person, guy, damsel in distress on the side of the road that looks like they could use a ride or something, then by all means, offer it to them or whatever. But that was probably about the only negative experience I had with biking. Otherwise, it's mostly been very positive. And there's even a few summers way back it's probably early 2000s, late 90s. There's a few summers where, I usually stay up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Most of the time I was just on AOL Instant Messenger. But for some reason I just decided that this one summer I was just going to bike around all hours of the night. I mean, why not? Bike around from 11 o'clock to 5 in the morning or something. Just bike everywhere in the country, in the city, uptown, downtown, all around, east side, west side, north side, south side, central side. It was just overall it was just a very enlightening, a very introspective experience. Because, when you're biking out, at nighttime, there were 2 particular instances where I very vividly remember just absolute pure darkness. I mean, you couldn't even see the hand in front of your face. And to be in that situation, because what would happen is when you would bike on some of these desolate country roads, you would literally go through a grove of trees. So the moon was, obviously the moon doesn't create its own light, but reflects light out of the sun or whatever. But the moon would be inhibited from your view. And then there's no artificial lighting either. There's no street lamps, no houses, no laptop screens, there's nothing. It's just literally pure darkness. You had to put the bike forward and hope you'd eventually make it back into some semblance of light. And a lot of people say, well, your eyes adjust to darkness and everything. But if there is literally no source of light, there's nothing for your eyes to adjust to. All they can do is extract the image that they last remembered. It's like when you're driving through a blizzard. I mean, yeah, you can see in front of you, but the snow is so thick that you can't really even see the road in front of you, so you don't even know where the hell you're going. You just hope you're on the road somehow. As far as like snowplows, I don't even know how the hell those guys manage to do their job. The GPS must practically drive the things to the nearest square inch or whatever. But yeah, going back to the biking, they're just really weird experiences that you come across like that. Because those are probably about the only 2 times in my life where I experienced absolute darkness. It's a pretty scary thing too, because you're completely out of control. You just you basically put your life in the hands of your bike and hope that it's guiding you in the right direction and that you can get back into the light. I mean, it's pretty fun too, but you obviously don't want to get impaled by a tree or a raccoon that jumps out of nowhere too. So there's also that to consider. But yeah, ultimately biking around at night is a great thing. I didn't have any lights on the bike. I didn't have any safety equipment. See, the thing is, at nighttime, there's very little noise pollution. There's very little light pollution. So if there's a car 5 miles away, you can hear it coming. So I mean, if you're biking around at night and there's 3 cars you encounter around the country and you get hit by one of them, chances are maybe it was meant to be. I mean, it's so, you have such a long range visual and hearing acuity to know that it's coming and where it's coming from, where it's going, where it's been, that, they're pretty easy to avoid. Now, I don't know what the laws and regulations are, if you need to have all like flashing amber, red, green, blue lights on your bike or anything like that. I mean, like I said, as far as laws go, I know the Big Ten, and that's about it. If I try to look at any other ones, I'd probably be about as worthwhile as a slug trying to evaluate complex arithmetic or something of that nature. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, obviously, I mean, I wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. It was just biking around to have a good time, just to relax and just to enjoy life, I guess. And it definitely accomplished that objective. And there's another instance too. Well, I don't know if I should get into that one yet. It looks like we're pushing up pretty close to a break. So let me tell you this though. When you are going to get a bike, whether you want to sit straight up or whether you want to lean forward or totally lean forward, what I would recommend is probably the plane on the ground and your body would have about a 45-degree angle. And then you want to keep your back, your lumbar, curved inward. Think of it like a duck, you kind of stick your ass out and then you keep the lumbar curved. That way you maintain the cushion between your spine and nerves and all that stuff too. So if you are experiencing back pain and things of that nature, when I was 120 pounds, I'd basically have pretty much constant back and neck pain because there was just absolutely no fat or whatever. It was just all skin and bones. It looked like you just slapped some flesh on a skeleton and then just crawled out of a cemetery or something. So if you do have back pain, neck pain, and things of that nature, yeah, you can get a bike where you sit straight up, but it's going to be a lot more difficult to pedal it, and you kind of limit yourself to just short-term endeavors. You're not going to be able to bike very long-term because you can't put a lot of power into it, and you're less aerodynamically advantaged. See, when you lean in 45 degrees forward, you're able to use more power from your back of your thighs and your ass muscles to push on the pedals. Then you can gain more power. You can use the more muscles, your motor pathways in your brain, recruit more muscles to work and push the pedals, and you can go further, longer, faster, bigger, and stronger. That's definitely the method I would recommend. But of course, you definitely have. I mean, if you're only going to bike to a mile down to Big Joe Rosso's meat and seafood, and then back home, and it's a 2-mile round trip, then it's. You can get any type of bike you want. I mean, you can even get those recumbent bikes where you sit down on it. Or there's even some recumbent bikes where you literally lay down and then your hands are the pedals more or less. So maybe for people that don't have any legs, they could definitely use that or something of that nature too. There's lots of options out there. And then one other thing too, before we go to break here, you can get. There's 2 different kinds of pedals. There's a pedal where you clip in with your shoes, and then there's just the normal pedals where they have a plastic metal or something of that nature. So I've used both of them. I kind of prefer just the regular pedals. But if you're using the pedals where you clip into the shoes, then you can use more force. Like you can use the pushing and the pulling force. If you're using just the regular pedals, you basically just have the pushing force. So now if you're bending over, you can still use the back of your leg muscles for that pushing force. But if you're sitting straight back up, then it sort of limits you just to the muscles kind of on top of your legs and behind your knees a little bit. So if you're leaning forward and you have the clip-in pedals, you're probably using the most muscles. When you watch the Tour de France, the guys are leaning completely over. That's mostly for aerodynamic purposes. And I'm not really sure if you use more or less muscles than if you're at a 45-degree bend. It's really difficult to say. But for regular people, it's very uncomfortable biking like that because you almost have to put the concave curvature in your spine, which sort of cuts down on the cushioning and circulation. So when you're going over bumps and things of that nature, you can feel it more. So if you're biking on a bumpy road and you're completely leaned over like that, it's just overall not a very comfortable experience. And the primary goal with biking is just to be comfortable, to enjoy it, to get your kids involved, to get your family involved, to get your community involved, to get America involved, if you train your monkey to bike, to get him involved too. Just so that it's fun for everybody. You don't want to be that guy that's got the $10,000 bike and you're biking around with your family and you're just hauling ass everywhere and losing them in the dust and they don't even know where the hell you are, and then it's just a bad experience all around. So ultimately it's just about having fun for everybody. Friends, family, extraterrestrials, whoever. But yeah, we're going to have to go to break now. Well, before we do though, we're going to have Good Times Balls Deep. It sounds like it's going to be a multi-person discussion panel talking about a lot of hard-hitting topics. Topics that, I'm not a very smart guy, so I'm not very insightful as far as, the transracial, the alien bathrooms or anything like that. See, I don't really know much stuff about that. I barely leave my house, so I hardly know what's going on in society, which is mainly why I'm focusing on the static top. I mean, I can look at, research and dynamic properties of physics and things of that nature and sort of work and finagle my way around. But for the most part, it's just applying common sense to complex principles. But yeah, getting back, Good Times Balls Deep. The host is working on the studio to add more sound editing material to it, and then multi-person discussion panel. That's the tentative direction of the show. It could change. It is a very fluid and it's in flux always. Even after Good Times Balls Deep debuts, I mean the show could make some changes. The host of the show he might go on the road and interview people, or he might host a show from a hot air balloon or something. It's or the Princeton Speedway. The opportunities are limitless. But all I can really guarantee is that it's going to be good times and it's going to be balls deep. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully I can finally get some sleep. Tomorrow, just going to take a day off, watch the NASCAR race. Ladies and gentlemen at home, just get together with your family, get together with your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, maybe call up your mom or ask her if you live in San Francisco or something. Just call up your mom, see how she's doing, see how life in wherever people live these days is going, and yeah, just relax, enjoy yourselves. You know, you don't need to work your ass off all the time, but you know, I mean, it's just all the excitement and exhilaration and jubilance that Good Times Balls Deep is going to bring to us in the future. It's I don't even have the option of relaxing. I mean, it's just gonna be probably one of the top rated shows on wherever it'll be. I mean, in my mind, it'll be the top rated show. I mean, I don't know what kind of audience it'll draw, but for the audience that it'll be like a diamond in a rough or something. Think of it this way: if you move into one of those really old farmhouses, inside the wall, say there's like a giant bag, a treasure trove of silver coins. That's what Good Times Balls Deep is going to be like. You're going to walk into a house, and only you know about it, and a couple other people know about this treasure trove of silver coins, and it's just going to make you the happiest person around. Yeah, we're going to give me about 3 minutes. You're listening to Text Messages with Richard Tex. Thank you very much. 3 minutes. Welcome back to Text Messages, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Tex, the parasite of the show. I'm glad to be bringing the show to you. It's March 10th, 2018. We're continuing to experience cloudy conditions outside. During the break, the producers reminded me that we should at least try to provide some type of educational material for you ladies and gentlemen viewing at home. So they gave me these research studies, and I'm just going to read one of them off for now, and maybe we can talk about it. So Columbia University did a study where they determined that brain learns to repeat patterns of neuronal activity when good feelings are elicited. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that work very hard on these studies, and they probably leave their families and are living far away from home, and they're just dedicated to work night and day. Some of them might not even be sleeping. But I mean, for you guys listening at home, people that have student loan debt, that pay out of control tuition, these are the kind of studies that you're funding. That somebody can say brain repeats pattern of neural activity when you're feeling good. I mean, it's see, this is why the show is pro common sense. Because all you have to do is think common sense. If you do something that feels good, yeah, your brain patterns are probably going to reroute their neurons, synapses, and all that good fun stuff. I mean, it's just obvious. I don't see why you need to spend millions of dollars on these goofy studies to say that it does. So just giving you a little bit to think about. I mean, every time you pay your student loan debt, just know that you're getting this valuable, critical information. There are good researchers out there that are doing excellent, great stuff that advances society, that's going to make America great again. So I mean, they're not all bad. It's just some of these studies are just kind of goofy and silly, and I just don't really know where they're going or what the idea is behind them. And I guess I can read one more too. The University of Birmingham, fish oil supplements do not improve memory. That's the thing with supplements. Yeah, they look good on the shelf. You're walking through Big Joe Rosso's Foods, and you see all these colorful bottles that say CoQ10, vitamin B12, vitamin A, anabolic steroids, lactate supplements, fish oil supplements. And they look good, they look cute on the shelf. But in all reality, they're not. They're extracted from their natural habitat, and there's many things to learn that humans don't really sense about the food items that they're eating. So when you buy supplements, I mean, they are extracted. They're in an individual form. Think of it this way. Let's say you buy a car, and then you sit in the car and you drive the car around. Now let's say you take the seat out of the car, and then you bring it inside your house and you use it as a computer chair. You're still going to be able to use the seat, but you're not going to be able to move the seat around in your car because it's not part of the. That's probably one of the worst examples I could think of. So we're just going to move on back to biking for now, and just how great of a journey and experience it is. See, there was this one day where I just decided, because I grew up in Cold Spring, not Cold Spring Harbors, Cold Spring, a town in central Minnesota, and then there's a bigger city in St. Cloud. So I figured, one day, why not just bike there, bike around all day, just make a whole evening out of it, just have a fun time. So the other thing with biking too is, I don't know if there are rules against it or not, but you typically want to avoid state and interstate highways because it's just super noisy, lots of traffic. A lot of pollution, a lot of noise pollution. People might honk their horn, they might shoot you or things of that nature. So you're better off just avoiding state and interstate highways and just sticking with county roads, country roads. Not so much limited maintenance roads. If you get on gravel roads and things like that, it's really bad for your bike. It's very uncomfortable. It's a bad experience overall. So stick with tarred county roads. And to transport from Cold Spring to St. Cloud required. Normally when you do it, you just hop in a car, drive on a state highway and get there, no problem. But on a bike, you got to get on a lot of these country roads and take a lot of roundabout ways to finally get to town. So just getting to the town probably took about 2 hours or so, and then once in town, it's just bike around, enjoying all the scenery. You notice hundreds of things that you never notice as you're driving too, because you got to focus on the road and not running people over and just trying to stay safe and be a good driver. So when you do bike around these communities, you definitely get to enjoy a lot of the scenery. And yeah, I mean, it's something even this coworker I had, he lived in Wisconsin somewhere, and then he would drive, and then he'd hit all these bike paths in the metro area. It was just a fun thing to do, you know. I mean, yeah, it's not productive, but well, I mean, you are getting good cardiovascular exercise, and you're getting the sun, vitamin D, everything else the sun gives you. That you know, that's probably why chickens lay in the sun. There's all that healthy stuff in there. So I mean, it's not to say biking is just all some worthless, non-productive endeavor where you don't get anything done. Because if you live close to work or a reasonable distance away from work, you can just bike to work and back every day, and then you can establish the habit of biking to and from work and being more physically fit, having a more reliable mode of transportation. And then it's just if your job is very sedative, then you'll get good physical activity. You know, you'll be cardiovascularly more fit. You know, once you get to your work site, you'll probably be tired from biking, and then you want to sit down in front of a computer or in a meeting or on a diving board or something like that, and then just relax a little bit and unwind and get ready to get some work done or something of that nature too. And you know, if you got a job that requires a lot of manual labor, then yeah, maybe you can just stick to driving to and from work, because you probably need a lot of time to relax and things of that nature too. So I mean, biking is, see, that's the thing with electric cars. They only, especially the Tesla's got a pretty far range, but the newer ones, or but like Nissan Leaf, for example, or Mitsubishi My-EV, or the smart car convertible, and they only have a range of about 60 miles. So if it's 20 miles to work in one direction, 20 miles back, that's about all they can handle. Which if you live on bike-friendly roads or paths, I mean, 40 miles a day is probably pushing it, but if you're only biking 10 miles in one direction, yeah, it'll probably, I don't know, half an hour to an hour to get there. So it's not a big deal. And then you don't have to worry about getting in traffic jams or getting pulled over or rolling your car over, nothing like that too. And it's a lot cheaper to bike. The maintenance costs are significantly less. It's healthier, it's more fun, you get to be outside. Even when, that's another thing too, especially in the springtime, it will rain at some point. If you're an avid biker, you will get rained on. And usually what I've done is I get this little piece of plastic, and it's got this poncho in it. You know, it's not some giant thing that sits on the side of your bike. It's just a little plastic bag with the poncho, and then if it does start raining, you can just put it on quick, and then you won't get rained on. And another thing too, it's good to have the rear fenders on your bike. Otherwise you'll get that streak up your back, and it's full of like dirt and oil and feces, and it's very, yeah, you can clean it, but it's just kind of a hassle to have that, especially if you only have 3 different pairs of shirts, or maybe 7 if you got the Menards free mail-in rebate ones recently. So there's definitely consider weather conditions too. But yeah, ultimately I think we're getting to the end of the show here. I wanted to, last show we had, I went over a little bit, which was, I apologize, it was just completely unprofessional and just a slap in the face to the audience at home to think that it was acceptable to waste everybody's time. So I want to make sure that I keep the show to less than an hour. Plus, I guess my parents are coming pretty soon, maybe the weekly sanity check or whatever it is, whatever their objective is. So ultimately, just to sum up biking, when you get a bike, if you want to spend 10 grand on a bike and look like you got a lot of money to waste, why not? If you want to go to Shields or Big Joe Rosso's bike store and get $5,000 bike, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But ultimately, if you prefer the minimalist approach, if you're not going to use it all day, every day, then you could probably get away with spending $100 on a used one, or go on Craigslist or a garage sale, something of that nature. Just get something that works good, and you can bike around a little bit. If you drop it in your garage, or if your girlfriend runs the bike over, it's not a big deal. You can just get a new one or repair it, or use. Throw it off the roof or something of that nature too. And then you have the option of getting the clip-on pedals or just the regular pedals. if you do get the clip-on pedals, you will fall at least once. But it's for long-term hardcore biking, it's probably the preferred method. If you're just gonna bike some trails, if you're a weekend guy that's gonna bike trails every once in a while or bike up and down the street, then you really don't need them. I mean, you got to have an extra pair of shoes that actually clip in the pedals too, and then the shoes got like a metal iron part on the bottom, so you can't walk around in stores with it too. That was kind of the inhibiting factor for me. I just wanted to be able to get off the bike right away. Yeah, you're not working as many muscles or whatever, but it's still, you can still bike 5-10 miles comfortably without it, no problem. But if you're one of those guys that you got your car all painted up in fancy colors and you got your spandex on and your roof rack and your Subaru and you got all the bikes strapped up there, the $10,000 bikes, then you're probably going to have a clip-on pedal bike. And as far as Tour de France, I mean, I don't even know if the professionals have clip-on pedals. I imagine they do, or Olympic people, or I don't think triathletes have them. Maybe they do. I mean, I really don't know what I'm talking about, which is rarely an inhibiting factor to my speech, though. So ultimately, clip-on, non-clip-on, again, totally up to you. I'm just saying the advantages and disadvantages of one or the other, and then know your environment, know your trails, your city roads, country roads, things of that nature. Maybe you want to bike around at night. Maybe you just want to drive to random towns and bike around there and cause hell and all that good stuff too. But yeah, it is definitely a positive experience. And nice thing about biking too is you can experience it anywhere in the country. Granted, Minnesota you can't really bike around in winter, but if you want to get the fat giant tires, then by all means go ahead and do that. Nobody's going to stop you or anything like that. I mean, it's just, every once in a while you do hear people complaining about bikers, using up road lanes and just causing a ruckus in congested areas or whatever the case may be. But yeah, if you do bike, just use common sense. Don't bike in front of semis or try to jump moving cars or things like, trying to pop wheelie on a rail of a bridge and film it and post it on Daily Motion or whatever. It's just, yeah, if you're talented, I guess you can do that. And I'd probably watch the video if somebody posted it and like it and all that. So it's up to your own judgment. You're an individual, a rugged individual, believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we're all patriots, and we're all just doing our part to make America great again. So I think. Looks like we're up against the wall here for the end of the show. Good times, balls deep. It is coming. It will. The host of the show is working on soundproofing his studio. So once we get that done, he's going to have. I don't know if they're going to be a consistent guest lineup or if it'll be different guests, or I don't even know if I'll be on the show or not. But yeah, it'll be very fluid. Yeah. I mean, it's super excited for the show. There's no question about that. I mean, I can't reiterate that enough. And yeah, hopefully tomorrow we're just gonna take a break, not film any shows, and then by next Tuesday I'll resume the regular 3-day a week. Looks like Tex Messages is probably gonna be a 3-day a week show. And in the near future, next couple weeks, we're gonna be sticking with static topics. We might start getting into more dynamic discussions like these. Like the valuable research information we have here. But, we'll see. It can change. It can change in the middle of the show. I mean, the last show I was going to do a topic, and then once I started talking, I decided to switch the topic right away. It's on-air production meeting. That's the objective behind text messages. It's zero prep work. The parasite, I really don't have any speaking talent, so it's... the show potentially a train wreck at any moment in time, so it's just hopefully the ladies and gentlemen at home are enjoying it. It's mostly just this is mostly just promo work for Good Times Balls Deep, because that's absolutely going to be our flagship show. And hopefully we might be able to add more shows in the future too. Ultimately we want to get on a 24-hour time cycle. I mean, it's good for the ladies and gentlemen at home. I mean, obviously, if we were on a 24-hour time cycle, Text Messages would probably anchor the 3 a.m. time slot, which is totally fine with me. You know, I'd probably be so busy watching all the other shows too that I might not even be able to do the show anymore. So obviously that would be very far into the future, and you know, good times, but that might just be repeated over the course of the day, and then Text Messages at 3 in the morning. So we're figuring things out. We're hitting on 8 cylinders. We're coming into corner 1 at top speed. We're going to hit the top cushion and put the pedal down and see where it brings us. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name is Rick Tex, the parasite of Text Messages. Good times, balls deep. It's coming in the near future. Thank you very much.